Even if you own the entire world, you wouldn't be worth a fraction of my daughter. Those were the words of my father-in-law the day she divorced me. A worthless, debt-ridden scoundrel. Today, a single text message confirms my new balance, $6. 18 billion. To Wall Street. I'm a ghost who calls every market crash to the exact cent. To the police chief. I'm a prophet who stops a brutal home invasion before it happens. I gift Lamborghinis like their apologies and buy entire mountains on a whim, crushing tycoons who dare to look down on me. My family, once ashamed, now looks at me with awe. My ex-wife, Chloe, the woman I'd burned the world for, is finally starting to see the man I've become. But all my power, all my foresight, couldn't prepare me for one frantic phone call. Her family faces an impossible crisis. A man is dying. He needs a heart transplant, and a compatible organ is nowhere to be found. My final test isn't against the market or my enemies. It's against death itself. I've conquered fortunes and foreseen the future. But can a man with $6 billion buy a second chance at life? And a second chance at love? After staying in the courtyard until the night breeze dried the tears on his face, Liam, accompanied by Chloe, walked back into the house. Aaron and Felicity Lynn tactfully acted as if nothing had happened, but the concern and heartache in their eyes were warmer than any words. This son had disappointed them time and again, yet their love remained. Dad, Mom, Liam broke the silence. When I first came back, you asked me how I made all this money. Let me explain it to you now. He then recounted the stories of Violet Gold Manor and Shorting Spirit Motors. He omitted his ability to see the future, attributing his success to a series of high-stakes gambles, with precise information and perfect timing. Though he seemed to be explaining to his parents, his gaze often drifted to Chloe. These words were for her, too. The old couple was completely baffled. Knowing nothing about the stock market, they found it all incredible. His father, Aaron, pressed him. So this time, with this stock, how much will you make? A little under $3 billion, Liam answered calmly. How? How much? Aaron's eyes widened. Felicity, who was walking to the kitchen, nearly walked straight into a wall. Only Chloe, thanks to Zane's earlier hints, remained relatively composed. Aaron tremblingly poured himself a cup of tea and walked out to the courtyard. He lit a cigarette, the red tip glowing erratically in the darkness, mirroring his turbulent emotions. When he returned, smelling faintly of tobacco, his eyes were clearer than ever before. How much you earn is your business, he said, staring at Liam, enunciating each word. But I'm your father. I've lived a long life, and I understand people better than you do. It hasn't been easy for Chloe and Sophie. You did so many wrong things in the past, and she never once complained to us. A family must be in harmony for things to prosper. Do you understand? Dad, I understand. Liam nodded heavily. Aaron then turned to Chloe, his tone softening. Chloe, for years, I never apologized to you. Today, I want to say I'm sorry. Dad, it has nothing to do with you. Chloe's eyes immediately reddened. Liam, Aaron snapped his head back, his voice stern. You remember what you promised me. If you ever go back to your old ways, your mother and I won't rest easy, even in our graves. As he finished speaking, Liam suddenly stood up, dropped to his knees before his parents, and kowtowed 3 times. The sound of his forehead hitting the floor echoed in the quiet room. These 3 gestures were not just repentance, they were an oath. The tense atmosphere was finally broken by Aaron's forced cheerfulness. He walked around the room, hands behind his back, admiring the piles of gifts with loud exclamations of wonder, making both Felicity and Chloe laugh. While the 2 men were examining the fine liquor and cigarettes, Felicity pulled Chloe aside. She took Chloe's hand in her own calloused, yet warm ones and whispered, Chloe, Mom knows you're not a woman who cares about money. Now that Liam is making a good living and isn't a scoundrel anymore, have you considered remarrying him? Chloe trembled slightly, but said nothing. Felicity patted her hand gently. In my heart, the people I most want to see enjoying this home are you and Sophie. Compared to the happiness of your family, it doesn't matter if Liam earns billions. Mom, tears streamed silently down Chloe's face as she hugged her kind and simple mother-in-law. That night, an awkward situation arose. The old house only had 2 bedrooms, with his parents sleeping in one, that left Liam, Chloe, and Sophie to share the single bed in the other. Thanks to Sophie's plea of Daddy, sleep with me, Chloe could only blush and accept the arrangement. A single, dim bedside lamp was left on. The cool night air, filled with the scent of earth and grass, drifted in. Liam could hear the even breathing of the mother and daughter beside him, feel the slight shift of air under the covers when Chloe turned over. A long-lost sense of peace washed over him. The next morning, Liam was squatting in the fields, pulling plump peanuts from the soil, his pant legs covered in dirt. The ringing of his phone felt like a call from another world. It was Zane. Brother Liam. Zane's voice was electric with ecstatic joy. I can't believe it. Your prediction was accurate to the very cent. Spirit Motors bottomed out at exactly $448. Austin has already spoken with the brokerage. The funds will be in your account this afternoon at the latest, $2.85 billion. $2.85 billion. Even though he was expecting it, the number still made Liam's heart skip a beat. He took a deep breath, the scent of the earth calming him. For my share, just transfer 50 million for now. Use the remaining 2.8 billion to bottom fish Tesla. When do we move? Zane was instantly energized. Tomorrow night. To be precise, 3 a.m. on the 11th. Tesla will hit its limit down then. Liam's voice was frighteningly calm. By 3 p.m. on the 12th, it will have a retaliatory surge. We should have no problem doubling our money. There was a moment of silence. Then Zane's voice cracked as he screamed, "Brother Liam, you're a legend." Liam hung up and looked out at the endless fields, the cheerful laughter of his sister, Clara, echoing in his mind. She was coming home that afternoon, bringing the purest joy to their newly mended family. The thunder of wealth had already sounded, and the harbor of his family was secure once more. Everything seemed to be heading in the best possible direction. The brother and sister sat on the concrete steps in the courtyard. The aroma of cooking drifted from the kitchen, mixed with their father's laughter as he played with Sophie. Clara hugged her knees, recounting an embarrassing story from when she was 8, when Liam had given her a piggyback ride and tripped, causing her to bust her lip. Liam rolled his eyes, grumbling that it was her own fault for squirming, and he was the one who got yelled at by their parents. It seemed like just yesterday that the little girl trailing behind him had blossomed into a beautiful young woman. Liam lit a cigarette, but at his sister's gentle admonishment, "Brother, that's not good for you." He reluctantly stubbed it out. He asked about her work, and his heart ached when he learned that his college-educated sister was working as a piece-rate seamstress in a clothing factory, working herself to the bone for $5,000 or $6,000 a month just to help the family. "Show me your messaging app QR code. I'll add you." Liam's voice was a bit rough. The moment they were connected, a transfer notification for $30,000 popped up on her screen. Clara was startled and refused repeatedly, reminding him that he had debts and Sophie's kindergarten fees to worry about. Liam didn't argue. He simply took her phone and held his own screen in front of her. On it, a bank notification clearly displayed a string of zeros, so long it was dizzying. 50 million. Clara's eyes went wide as saucers. She swiped her finger across the screen several times to confirm it wasn't a photoshopped image. Seeing her adorable reaction, Liam couldn't help but laugh. "Your brother's rich now? From now on, you can spend as much as you want. If you don't like that factory job, just quit. I'll support you." He assured his sister the money was clean and that she could spend it without worry. Clara was silent for a long time, and then, the strong young woman began to cry softly. Not for herself, but for her sister-in-law Chloe and her niece Sophie. Their suffering was finally over. "Brother," she wiped her tears. "My brother's assets aren't just this 50 million, Liam said, holding up 3 fingers. "It's this amount times 10. The next day was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the last member of the family, his younger brother Ethan, arrived home. A car enthusiast, he immediately spotted the new Mercedes S450 parked outside and circled it admiringly, though he claimed he preferred flashy supercars. The comment was casual, but Liam took note. In between catching up with his family, he stepped into the courtyard and called Dexter Siong. "Can you get me a couple of Lamborghini Urus?" he asked, as casually as if he were asking for a few pounds of vegetables. 2 of them, one blue, one pink. Within 3 days. At noon, the large family gathered around a table laden with food. His father, Aaron, opened a bottle of premium Moutai, eager to taste what $1,000 liquor was like. In the middle of their conversation, a middle-aged woman, their neighbor Annie Wong, walked in. She had come to collect a debt. The family still owed her $20,000. The atmosphere grew a bit awkward, but Liam smiled and stood up, bringing up the matter himself. He not only promised to repay it that afternoon, but insisted on adding interest for the past few years. Auntie Wong left, overjoyed. Liam quickly finished his lunch and drove the Mercedes into the city to withdraw a full $300,000 in cash. When he returned, the first thing he did was take his father to their neighbor Mr. Yi's house. When 3 thick stacks of crisp new bills were placed in front of Annie Wong, she was stunned. "Aaron, you must have remembered wrong. It was only $20,000. This $10,000 is for interest." Aaron Lin's voice was quiet, but his back was ramrod straight. He placed the gifts of liquor, cigarettes, and mooncakes on the table, his chin held high. "This is from Liam, a little something for you and E. Don't refuse it." When Mr. He saw the gifts, he gasped. "Premium Moutai? Top-shelf cigarettes? We can't accept this, Aaron, we really can't." "Just take it," Aaron said with a broad grin. "My boy has made something of himself. He's earned a bit of money, he can afford this. It makes me proud." For the rest of the afternoon, Liam drove his father around the village in the Mercedes. They went from house to house, repaying debts and delivering gifts. Relatives who had distanced themselves, neighbors who had whispered behind their backs, now all greeted them with wide smiles. Aaron Lin's laughter never stopped, his weathered face glowing with an unprecedented radiance. After years of bowing his head, today, he could finally stand tall. On the way home, Liam placed the remaining $100,000 in cash, tucked into a simple plastic bag, in his father's hands. "Dad, we've paid everyone back. You and Mom keep the rest." "All right then. Your mother and I will spend it all." Aaron accepted it without any fuss. Now get out of the car. It's almost time for the firecrackers. Liam smiled and parked the car. Looking at the smiling faces of his reunited family in the courtyard, hearing the distant pop of firecrackers, he thought that perhaps this, right here, was what people called happiness. On the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the moonlight was as clear as water. The smell of fireworks still hung in the air of the Lynn family courtyard as they gathered together, savoring their hard-won reunion. At the dinner table, Sophie's declaration that Uncle Ethan's mooncakes are the best made everyone roar with laughter. After dinner, under a sky full of brilliant fireworks, Liam and Ethan crammed onto the old heated brick bed like they did as children, whispering secrets. "Brother, got a smoke?" It was late, and the two were sitting on the concrete steps. Ethan's voice was laced with exhaustion. Liam passed him a cigarette and listened as his brother complained about the backstabbing at his job. He clapped Ethan on the shoulder. "If you don't want to do it, then don't. I'm planning to start a pharmaceutical company. You and Clara can both come work for me." Ethan's eyes lit up instantly. It wasn't about getting a free ride. It was the perfect opportunity to use his skills and help his brother's company while escaping his current predicament. Under the moonlight, the two brothers planned a future full of hope. They had no idea that on the other side of the world, a financial storm was brewing exactly as Liam had predicted, sweeping through Wall Street. 3 hours after the market opened, Tesla stock officially hit its limit down. The next morning, Chloe jokingly told Liam, "If you really don't want your parents working in the fields, you should buy them a big house in the city." Liam's spirits soared. "Yes, in Azure Bay, with an ocean view. One for us, one for my parents, one for your parents, and one each for Clara, Ethan, and Caleb." "Don't be ridiculous," Chloe said, blushing as she turned and walked into the kitchen, a smile playing on her lips. After breakfast, Liam said goodbye to his family and drove the Mercedes S450 alone to Longlight City First People's Hospital. His target was clear, Victor Zhang, the future medical legend. At 10 a.m., he found the man on a bench outside the hematology department. Victor had his head in his hands, his eyes vacant, consumed by a crushing despair. "My mother is almost 70. How could she get leukemia?" he screamed silently in his mind. "Hello," Liam's voice broke the silence. Victor looked up at the stranger's smiling face and immediately became wary. "What do you want?" "Fundraising platform." Before Liam could answer, his pent-up anger exploded. "Get the hell out of here. Don't think I don't know your type, using patients' lives as bargaining chips. You bastards are ruining society." Liam wasn't angered by the tirade. In fact, it only made him admire the man's integrity and pride. He took out a file he had prepared and read calmly. Victor Zhang, 28 years old, unmarried, graduate of North Anhui Medical University. "My name is Liam Lin. I plan to open a pharmaceutical company, and I heard you have some ideas about a super cold medicine. I'm here to invite you to join my team." The words super cold medicine were like a needle, piercing the deepest, most painful part of Victor's heart. Memories of rejection, ridicule, and mockery flooded his mind. He thought this was just another form of humiliation, and the veins on his forehead bulged. "Wasn't it enough for you people to kick me out? Now you have to chase me down and trample all over my dreams and dignity to feel good. What's the point of not giving up? Can dreams put food on the table?" Victor pointed a trembling finger at the department door, his voice hoarse. "Just now, the doctor told me my mother has leukemia. I can't even afford the hospital deposit. What can I do? I'm useless. Whether your mother can get treatment is entirely up to you." Liam's gaze was incredibly serious. "I never intended to trample on your dream. I respect everyone's dreams, because that's what we live for." The words slightly quelled Victor's anger, but it was replaced by a deeper sense of helplessness. "I want to keep going, but every dream needs money to support it. I might have another chance at my dream someday, but I only have one mother." Looking at this genius on the verge of being crushed by reality, Liam was silent for a moment, then suddenly turned and walked away. "Where are you going?" Victor asked instinctively, a strange sense of loss rising within him. Liam didn't look back. He just left him with one sentence, his voice not loud, but it was like a bolt of lightning that split the darkness in Victor's heart. "Want to catch up to your dream? Then follow me." The morning of the Mid-Autumn Festival was filled with the aroma of Felicity's cooking and a lazy, happy holiday air. After breakfast, Liam took Sophie for a walk around the village, soaking in the long-missed sense of community. At lunch, the atmosphere was at its peak as Liam officially invited his brother and sister to join the pharmaceutical company he was planning to start. The pride in his parents' eyes was overflowing. Their son was finally taking his place as the head of the family. That afternoon, Liam and his father set out on their long-overdue journey of glorious homecoming. The trunk of the unlicensed Mercedes S450 was filled with premium liquor and cigarettes, and a black plastic bag on the passenger seat held $300,000 in cash. Their first stop was Mr. Yi's house. When 3 stacks of crisp bills and expensive gifts were placed on the table, Andy Wong, who had once come knocking for her money, was speechless with disbelief. Liam's father, Aaron, stood tall and proud, his laughter booming. My son has made something of himself, he declared. It makes me proud. The black Mercedes became the main attraction in the village that afternoon, navigating the narrow dirt roads. At every stop, Liam would get out with gifts and cash, his father following with his head held high. Relatives and neighbors who had once shunned them now greeted them with broad smiles. Aaron Lynn couldn't stop laughing. After years of bowing his head, he could finally stand up straight. The next day, after dropping his siblings off in the city to resign from their jobs, Liam drove alone to Longlight City, First People's Hospital. His mission? To find a diamond in the rough, the future genius, Victor Jean. He found him on a bench outside the hematology department, a picture of despair, his t-shirt washed out, his hair a mess. Liam's approach was met with suspicion and anger. When he asked if Victor needed money, Victor's temper exploded, mistaking him for a predatory fundraiser and unleashing a torrent of abuse. Liam listened calmly, then dropped the keyword. My name is Liam Lynn. I plan to open a pharmaceutical company, and I heard you have some ideas about a super cold medicine. This was the key that unlocked Victor's deepest pain. He roared in frustration, recounting the humiliation of his dream being trampled, the impotent rage of not even being able to afford the hospital deposit for his mother with leukemia. At Victor's lowest point, Liam wasted no more words. He took him to the payment counter and, to Victor's utter shock, paid the $100,000 hospital deposit. Then, at a bank, he transferred $2 million directly into Victor's account. It's not my money you need, it's me, Liam said to the dumbfounded genius. I've pulled your dream back from the brink. Whether you can make it a reality is up to you. I have no words to thank you. Victor gritted his teeth, the proud man bowing his head for the first time. On the drive back, as Clara and Ethan were still marveling at their brother's decisiveness, a call came through the car's Bluetooth. It was Zane. Brother Liam, Tesla really did crash last night. The stock bottomed out at $498. I've invested all the money, just waiting for it to rebound. Zane's voice was trembling with excitement. If it really hits $1,100 a share like you said, your $2.8 billion will turn into about $6.2 billion. That's another $3.4 billion in profit. An absolute silence fell over the car. Clara and Ethan stared at each other, seeing the same shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. $6.2 billion. The number was a bombshell that detonated in their minds. Their brother was now standing at a height they couldn't even begin to comprehend. Just as they arrived home, Dexter Sion called, his voice respectful and thrilled. Brother Liam, the 2 Lamborghini Urus you ordered are on the truck. Zane told me I'm going to make $600 million on this. Don't even mention paying for the cars. That would be an insult. Liam hung up and looked toward his house. His parents were walking back from the fields, covered in dirt, but their faces were beaming with a newfound ease and pride. He knew his journey home was just beginning. At 5:30 in the evening, the setting sun painted the Lynn family courtyard in warm gold. Liam's phone screen silently lit up with a bank notification. The string of numbers was breathtaking. $6,180 million. Liam froze for a moment, his heart pounding. Then he almost instinctively ran to Chloe, who was playing with Sophie in the yard. Like a child showing off a prize, he held out his phone. It came in. 6.18 billion. Chloe, look. Chloe's gaze didn't fall on the astronomical number. Instead, she looked for a long time at Liam's face, flushed with excitement. His first instinct wasn't to find his parents or his siblings, but her. In that instant, the most fortified wall of the fortress around her heart came crashing down. A gentle, genuine, radiant smile, the first of its kind in years, blossomed on her lips. Congratulations, Liam. Her voice was as soft as a feather. You've truly achieved your dream. You've become a tycoon. No. Liam took back his phone, his eyes more serious than ever before. My dream now is to win you and Sophie back. Chloe smiled and turned towards the kitchen. Well, that dream might not be so easy to achieve. You'll have to work hard for it. During dinner, an unknown number called. The man on the other end introduced himself as Anderson Young, the branch manager of the Azure Bay City Bank. His tone was so polite, it was almost humble. After beating around the bush, he got to his point. He was begging Liam to deposit some money at his branch to help him meet his quota, even offering him an honorary employee position with a salary and a car service. Upon learning that he was Zane's uncle, Liam smiled and agreed to deposit $5 billion. After he hung up, while Aaron Lynn was still marveling at his son's newfound status, Clara had already given the family a lively finance lesson. With over $6 billion, even just earning interest in a bank, that's over $200 million a year. That breaks down to $550,000 a day. The interest from one day is equal to what a normal family like ours earns in 6 or 7 years. $550,000 a day. Aaron was rendered speechless. He felt as if his entire life of farming had become a joke. The next afternoon, the village's tranquility was broken by a deep roar as a massive transport truck carefully maneuvered onto the empty space in front of the Lynn's home. Liam had urged Ethan and Clara to take Sophie out to play. The moment they stepped outside, they let out a simultaneous shriek of disbelief and a rather colorful curse word. On the truck sat two mechanical beasts. One was a deep, night sky blue, the other, a delicate cherry blossom pink. Flowing lines, aggressive air intakes, and the iconic golden raging bull on the hood, Lamborghini Urus. On the transparent wrapping were two lines of text. For Ethan, may this car help you ride the wind and break the waves. And for Clara, may this car carry you across mountains and seas to achieve your dreams. When Liam walked out of the house, Clara and Ethan could no longer hold back. They rushed to him from both sides, clinging to him like two fledglings returning to the nest. Brother, what I owed you in the past, let's start repaying it with these two cars, okay? Liam patted their backs gently. I don't want it. You're my brother. You don't owe us anything. Clara's tearful cry moved all the villagers who had gathered to watch. On the plane back to Azure Bay, the quiet of the first-class cabin insulated them from the world. Liam and Chloe sat side by side. He asked softly, should we buy a house? Chloe was silent for a long time. Then she turned and looked at him seriously. Liam, I know you've changed, and I'm very happy. But we're divorced. This isn't a game. It's been less than 4 weeks. If I move in with you right now, what will my family think? They'll only think their daughter is a gold digger. I don't want them to just see that you're rich. I want them to see that you, Liam Lynn, have truly changed. For me, for Sophie, for this family. Her words pierced Liam's heart. He took her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away. I'm sorry. I was too eager. He took a deep breath. I promise you, until I have the approval of your parents and your brother, I will not mention getting back together again. Then, should we make a bet? A sly glint appeared in Chloe's eyes. If you can win the approval of my parents and Caleb by the end of this year, then I'll remarry you, she whispered. No. Liam's voice was quiet but incredibly firm, making Chloe pause. He looked into her eyes and said, one word at a time, I am going to make you marry me again. In a grand ceremony, with everyone's blessing, in a way that will make the whole world envious. You will marry me again. Chloe smiled, tears rolling from the corners of her eyes, but her smile was as brilliant as a summer flower. Back in Azure Bay, Zhangzhou was already waiting outside the airport with a brand new, extended wheelbase Range Rover. He boasted that he'd bought the car specifically to haul things for Liam's family, his words full of excitement for their new life. The display was so over the top that even Liam's parents stared in disbelief. On the way back to the old apartment complex, Liam tasked Zane with finding a top-tier ocean view property, revealing for the first time his ambition to enter the real estate industry. This sent Zane into a frenzy of excited pleading, which only further bewildered Aaron and Felicity Lynn. Stepping back into the small, familiar rental apartment felt entirely different. Aaron and Felicity wore serene smiles, and Chloe had finally let her guard down. The whole apartment was filled with the warmth of a happiness that had been lost and found. Their next-door neighbor, Mrs. Wang, came out and her eyes filled with relief seeing the reunited family. When Sophie innocently announced that, Daddy is going to buy us a big house, a flicker of sadness crossed the old woman's face. Liam saw it, and made a solemn promise to the woman who had cared for his daughter for so long. He told her, just as he had before, that he would buy a house for her family too, so they could remain next-door neighbors. Mrs. Wang stared at him, as if she couldn't believe her ears. The reckless boy she had both loved and hated was now a man of his word, a man of integrity. It was a change both wonderful and strange. That evening, Liam went alone to the Zhou family estate. It was a compound of old buildings that exuded a timeless authority. In the courtyard, a white-haired but still imposing man was watering his plants. This was Zane's grandfather, the former provincial governor, Walter Zhou. Facing this legendary figure, Liam felt surprisingly calm. They sat and drank tea, discussing life. Walter expressed reservations about Liam's plan to start a pharmaceutical company and was openly skeptical of his so-called fortune-telling abilities. Liam's answer was firm. He explained that every person's life is in the hands of death and doctors. He couldn't play the role of death, so he chose the latter. His goal wasn't to save the world, but to at least ease the financial and physical burdens of patients. Walter seemed moved by his words, but then shifted gears. He mentioned another guest was coming, someone with a serious problem. He asked Liam, as a favor to him, if he would read the man's fortune. It was clearly a test. Soon, a middle-aged man in a police uniform, his face etched with exhaustion, hurried into the courtyard. It was the chief of the Azure Bay Police Department, Logan Lee. He sat down and immediately poured out the troubles that had been crushing him for days. During the recent festival, a series of brutal home invasion robberies and murders had plagued the city. The 3 suspects were exceptionally cruel, sparing neither a 70-year-old woman nor a 10-year-old child. They were still at large, and the entire city was gripped by fear. Logan Lee nearly crushed the teacup in his hand, his eyes bloodshot with rage as he spoke of the 2 children, under 10 years old, who had been killed. How could anyone be so heartless? Zane listened, his heart pounding. He finally understood his grandfather's intention. Walter then turned his gaze to the silent Liam. Chiefly, Liam finally spoke. His voice was not loud, but it landed like a thunderclap in the quiet courtyard. The number of assailants. It should be 5, shouldn't it? Liam's question, it should be 5, shouldn't it? Froze the air in the Zhou family courtyard. A look of ecstatic triumph flashed in Zane's eyes, while Walter Zhou's brow furrowed in deep contemplation. Logan Lee, jolted from his thoughts, snapped with irritation. Young man, this is a murder investigation, not a child's game. We've worked around the clock for 3 days. The surveillance footage clearly shows 3 suspects. You open your mouth and suddenly it's 5. Despite the police chief's near shout, Liam's expression remained unchanged. He looked at him calmly, his voice quiet, but each word carrying immense weight. Chiefly, I understand how you feel, but I'm not the charlatan you think I am. It's true that only 3 suspects appeared on camera. The other 2 have been hiding where you can't see them. How do you know that? Logan pressed. Instead of answering directly, Liam dropped an even more chilling prediction. They will strike again tonight. The words sent a jolt through Logan Lee. His greatest fear was about to come true, but it was what Liam said next that truly terrified him. If I'm not mistaken, Chief, you live in the Central Gardens complex. Your son has a piano lesson at 8 p.m., finishing at 10, correct? Liam's gaze seemed to see through everything. And the suspect's next target is your home. Dead silence. The courtyard was utterly still. Zane and Walter stared, unable to believe what they were hearing. Logan Lee's face turned ashen. He hadn't been home since the case began, not even for the festival. How could this man possibly know that detail? They don't actually know it's your house, Liam said, as if reading his mind. To them, a house where the man of the house hasn't returned for days is the easiest target. You wouldn't hit me if I said you were lucky, would you, Chief? You're not lying to me? Logan's voice was hoarse, each word forced from between his teeth. Deploy your officers, Liam said, taking a sip of tea. At 11 p.m. tonight, the suspects will knock on your door. You have a fingerprint lock, they won't be able to pick it. At that moment, your wife will be in the shower. The one who opens the door will be your son. He paused, adding a few more details. There are 3 stolen motorcycles parked behind your complex. Don't bother checking the plates. As for the 2 hidden suspects, one is waiting by the motorcycles as a lookout. The other is hiding in the fountain behind your building. Every detail was so precise, every conclusion so fatal. Logan Lee could feel cold sweat soaking his back. He was torn. If he believed this, he'd be a laughingstock, using public resources for personal reasons. If he didn't, he'd be gambling with the lives of his wife and son. I've served this city my whole life, he rasped, like a caged animal. I've always tried to do my duty. If I make the wrong move here, I could never forgive myself. Liam said no more. He simply stood up and left, leaving the chief to make a choice that could change everything. At 10:40 that night, a few drunks stumbled into the Central Gardens complex. Leading them was Logan Lee, in plain clothes. As they passed the fountain, he casually glanced at it through a pair of night vision goggles. His heart stopped. Huddled in the shadows of a planter was a person. He suppressed the urge to act and walked calmly into his building. The moment he was inside, his face went white. Half of Liam's prediction had already come true. At 10:58, hidden in the shadows of the fire escape, Logan Lee stared at his front door. 3 figures in cartoon masks emerged from the stairwell. After failing to pick the lock, they knocked, precisely at 11 o'clock. Who is it? His son's clear voice called from inside. I'm a friend of your dad's. I brought you some chocolate, a disguised voice answered. Don't open it. Don't open it. Logan screamed in his mind, sweat pouring down his face. But then came a soft click. The door opened. Move. Logan's roar shattered the silence. At the same moment, a dozen plainclothes officers burst from the darkness. Several tranquilizer darts hit the 3 intruders as they stormed the apartment. Logan rushed to his son, pulling him into a tight embrace. Daddy, did you buy me chocolate? His son's innocent question made the hardened officer burst into tears. The next morning, Liam's phone rang. It was Logan Lee. On behalf of the people of this city, I thank you. His voice was raw with relief and gratitude. And on a personal note, thank you for saving my wife and child. With the crisis averted, Liam's life returned to a new kind of normal. On the way to the Rolls-Royce dealership, he pitched a new plan to Zane. I've got a new venture. You in? When I was at Nico Hong's hotel, I realized the seafood industry is incredibly profitable. Seafood dealing? Brother Liam, that's small time. Zane was confused. A regular seafood dealer is small time. Liam's lips curved into a mysterious smile. But what if I were to lease a section of the sea, farm sea cucumber seedlings, and then sell the entire territory? Zane's heart began to race again. He knew Liam never made a move without a reason. My third uncle is in the sea cucumber business in Daxing City, Zane said. Perfect, Liam's eyes sharpened. When we get to the dealership, call him. We're going to start hoarding dried sea cucumbers. As many as we can get. Remember, they have to be top quality, and they all have to be from Daxing City. Back in Azure Bay, the familiar salty air was a welcome greeting. Liam's mood was as bright as the autumn sky. He quickly set his new plan in motion, making call after call, pulling Nico Hong, Dexter Xiang, and Leo Li onto the massive ship that was his sea cucumber hoarding venture. After getting his parents settled, his first stop with Zane was a temple of leather and steel, the Rolls-Royce dealership. The air inside was still, luxurious, and cold. When a uniformed sales consultant smiled and approached them, both she and Liam stopped in their tracks. It was Penny Jiang, Caleb Chen's girlfriend. "Brother Liam, you know each other?" Zane asked, surprised. "My brother-in-law's girlfriend." Liam's reply made Penny's expression even more complicated. She couldn't reconcile the poised man laughing with Zane Zhou with the worthless ex-brother-in-law Caleb had described. She couldn't reconcile the poised man laughing with Zane Zhou with the worthless ex-brother-in-law Caleb had described. "I want to buy a Rolls-Royce," Liam said, ignoring her shock and walking straight to the display model. When he nonchalantly decided to pay an extra $500,000 just to get a $12 million Phantom immediately, Penny felt her entire worldview shift. She dazedly pulled out her phone and called Caleb. His roar on the other end was almost audible from across the room. "That damn Liam. Does he really think my family is that shallow? Does he think a little dirty money will make my sister take him back?" Liam paid him no mind. For him, this was just one part of the plan. That afternoon, he drove Zane's Audi Q7, with Sophie in the back, directly to the Trident International building. His sudden arrival was a stone tossed into the calm pond of the project department. Everyone watched as this strange man walked directly to Chloe. Hugo Han, the newly appointed head of the entire China region, broke into a wide, enthusiastic smile upon seeing Liam. He called out from across the office, "Chloe, my dear, you can handle those projects from home. No need to come into the office unless it's something important." The title he used, a familial and respectful term, was heard clearly by everyone in the department. The whispers and malicious gossip were shattered in that single moment. Everyone now understood that Chloe was backed by someone even their top boss had to treat with reverence. Chloe's face flushed crimson. As Liam took her hand and led her out of the company, she felt as if she had never stood up so straight in her life. "Of course I have to protect my wife," Liam said, his eyes full of sincerity. "In that case," a sly smile played on Chloe's lips, "from now on, it's my turn to bully you." With carefully selected premium seafood and expensive gifts, the family of three arrived at her parents' apartment complex. Her mother Lydia's warmth was a stark contrast to her father Aaron's silence. The old man, who loved his daughter more than life itself, watched Liam like a wary lion, scrutinizing the man who was trying to re-enter his daughter's life. He worried that this sudden wealth was just a sugar-coated trap, and beneath it was the same bastard who would break his daughter's heart again. "I would rather you never marry again than see you get hurt by someone else." Aaron's words made Chloe bury her face in his shoulder and sob. Just then, his phone rang. It was Caleb. "Dad, that dog went to Penny's dealership and ordered a car." Caleb's voice was filled with rage. "A $12 million Rolls-Royce Phantom. He thinks he's so great because he has money? If my sister cared about money, why would she have married him in the first place? 12 million. The number exploded like a thunderclap in the small living room. The color drained from Chloe's face. Her greatest fear had come true. She had wanted her father to see Liam's fundamental change, not his dazzling wealth. Aaron Chin hung up the phone and was silent for a long time. He slowly raised his head, his gaze passing over his crying daughter to land directly on Liam. The coldness in his eyes was gone, replaced by something heavier, more judgmental. "There are some things money can't buy." His voice was hoarse, but firm. "In my heart, even if Liam Lin owned the entire world, he wouldn't be worth a fraction of you. Do you understand?" At 5:30 in the evening, the setting sun painted the Lin family courtyard in warm gold. Liam's phone screen silently lit up with a bank notification. The string of numbers was breathtaking. 6,180,000,000. Liam froze for a moment, his heart pounding. Then he almost instinctively ran to Chloe, who was playing with Sophie in the yard. Like a child showing off a prize, he held out his phone. It came in. 6.18 billion. "Chloe, look." Chloe's gaze didn't fall on the astronomical number. Instead, she looked for a long time at Liam's face, flushed with excitement. His first instinct wasn't to find his parents or his siblings, but her. In that instant, the most fortified wall of the fortress around her heart came crashing down. A gentle, genuine, radiant smile, the first of its kind in years, blossomed on her lips. "Congratulations, Liam." Her voice was as soft as a feather. "You've truly achieved your dream. You've become a tycoon." "No." Liam took back his phone, his eyes more serious than ever before. "My dream now is to win you and Sophie back." Chloe smiled and turned towards the kitchen. "Well, that dream might not be so easy to achieve. You'll have to work hard for it." During dinner, an unknown number called. The man on the other end introduced himself as Anderson Yang, the branch manager of the Azure Bay City Bank. His tone was so polite, it was almost humble. After beating around the bush, he got to his point. He was begging Liam to deposit some money at his branch to help him meet his quota, even offering him an honorary employee position with a salary and a car service. Upon learning that he was Zane's uncle, Liam smiled and agreed to deposit 5 billion. After he hung up, while Aaron Lin was still marveling at his son's newfound status, Clara had already given the family a lively finance lesson. With over $6 billion, even just earning interest in a bank, that's over $200 million a year. That breaks down to $550,000 a day. The interest from one day is equal to what a normal family like ours earns in 6 or 7 years. $550,000 a day. Aaron was rendered speechless. He felt as if his entire life of farming had become a joke. The next afternoon, the village's tranquility was broken by a deep roar as a massive transport truck carefully maneuvered onto the empty space in front of the Lynn's home. Liam had urged Ethan and Clara to take Sophie out to play. The moment they stepped outside, they let out a simultaneous shriek of disbelief and a rather colorful curse word. On the truck sat 2 mechanical beasts. One was a deep, night sky blue, the other, a delicate cherry blossom pink. Flowing lines, aggressive air intakes, and the iconic golden raging bull on the hood, Lamborghini Urus. On the transparent wrapping were 2 lines of text. For Ethan, may this car help you ride the wind and break the waves. And for Clara, may this car carry you across mountains and seas to achieve your dreams. When Liam walked out of the house, Clara and Ethan could no longer hold back. They rushed to him from both sides, clinging to him like 2 fledglings returning to the nest. Brother, what I owed you in the past, let's start repaying it with these 2 cars, okay? Liam patted their backs gently. I don't want it. You're my brother. You don't owe us anything. Clara's tearful cry moved all the villagers who had gathered to watch. On the plane back to Azure Bay, the quiet of the first-class cabin insulated them from the world. Liam and Chloe sat side by side. He asked softly, should we buy a house? Chloe was silent for a long time. Then she turned and looked at him seriously. Liam, I know you've changed, and I'm very happy. But we're divorced. This isn't a game. It's been less than 4 weeks. If I move in with you right now, what will my family think? They'll only think their daughter is a gold digger. I don't want them to just see that you're rich. I want them to see that you, Liam Lynn, have truly changed. For me, for Sophie, for this family. Her words pierced Liam's heart. He took her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away. I'm sorry. I was too eager. He took a deep breath. I promise you, until I have the approval of your parents and your brother, I will not mention getting back together again. Then, should we make a bet? A sly glint appeared in Chloe's eyes. If you can win the approval of my parents and Caleb by the end of this year, then I'll remarry you, she whispered. No. Liam's voice was quiet but incredibly firm, making Chloe pause. He looked into her eyes and said, 1 word at a time, I am going to make you marry me again. In a grand ceremony, with everyone's blessing, in a way that will make the whole world envious. You will marry me again. Chloe smiled, tears rolling from the corners of her eyes, but her smile was as brilliant as a summer flower. The night in Jade Hill Village grew quiet, leaving only the scent of fresh ink from the pile of contracts on the heated brick bed. 1,500 acres of land and nearly $100 million in funds had been settled in a single afternoon. After instructing Chloe's uncles, Hai and Hua, on the construction of the sea cucumber sheds and generously leaving them a $90,000 bonus, Liam and Leo Lee drove back to Azure Bay through the night. As the car sped along the deserted highway, Leo was still reeling from the grand plans for stellar shipyards when Liam's phone rang abruptly at 1 in the morning. It was Chloe. Why are you still awake? Liam's voice held a gentle reprimand. Her voice on the other end was cheerful, almost proud. My aunt just called me. She couldn't stop praising you. Said you gave each of their families nearly $100,000. Said you've really made something of yourself. Then you should move in with me already. You can't see your daughter. You can't see your husband. I feel lonely just thinking about it. Liam's teasing earned a playful scoff from the other end. My uncle said you're going to some land auction tomorrow. Chloe's voice suddenly softened with a hint of shyness. I bought you 2 suits a few days ago. I forgot to tell you. You can come get them tomorrow. The key is under the doormat. She hung up quickly. Liam held the phone, stunned for a long moment, before bursting into uncontrollable joy. He grabbed Leo's arm and shook it. Leo, did you hear that? My wife bought me clothes. She bought me clothes. The next morning, accompanied by Zane, Liam first went to the old apartment complex. He used the key to open the familiar door. 2 new suits, 1 teal, 1 brown, were laid out neatly on the bed, ironed without a single crease. Liam tried one on. It fit perfectly, as if tailor-made. He knew that this woman had never forgotten a single thing about him. He leaned down and gently kissed their photo on the table, vowing silently to win her back. At the Azure Bay City Land Bureau, the auction hall was tense. Liam's arrival caused little stir until the 5th and largest plot, 2,500 acres of industrial land at Dragon Mountain, came up for bidding. Trevor Yao, the head of Green Harvest Pharmaceuticals and a titan in the provincial medical industry, raised the first paddle. Liam followed without hesitation. Starting at $1.2 billion, the price climbed steadily as the 2 men impassively raised their paddles in turn. When the price broke $2 billion, the entire hall fell silent, all eyes on this unknown young man. Finally, at $2.4 billion, Trevor Yao lowered his paddle. He stood up and looked down at Liam. Whose kid are you? The condescending question drew a few muffled laughs. Liam stood slowly, the same gentle smile on his face, but his words were a sharp blade. Do you think everyone relies on their father, just like you? Trevor Yao's face turned livid. After some persuasion from Zane, he snorted and stormed out. At 1 p.m, Liam met the travel-worn Victor Zhang at the Dragon Mountain bus stop. The future medical legend currently looked like any other young man struggling to make a living. Liam didn't take him to a fancy restaurant. Instead, he led him directly to the vast, empty expanse of land he had just bought. Look at this, Liam said, spreading his arms as if to embrace the land. From now on, this is all ours. You can choose where to plant the labs. As for staff, for now, it's just you. Victor's mouth twitched, but an unprecedented fire burned in his eyes. He said to Liam with great solemnity, Mr. Lin, if you trust me, then leave the hiring to me. I want my team to be the best of the best, not just a bunch of warm bodies. The design and construction of the industrial park were quickly arranged with the help of Nico Hong and Hugo Han. Liam's business empire was transforming from a blueprint to reality at an astonishing speed. He was already planning to invite Zane's girlfriend, Jean Jiang, to a family dinner as an excuse to officially ask Chloe out as well. Everything seemed to be moving in the most perfect direction. However, just as he was about to call Chloe to share his joy and his plans, her call came in first. Her voice was no longer filled with the tenderness of the previous night, but with a suppressed panic and fear. Liam, my dad just called me. He said Penny's father has been hospitalized. What is it? Liam's heart sank. Primary cardiomyopathy. It's not good. He might need a heart transplant.